If you're like me and you've been a 12 or 13 mini fan, then you know what? Don't you feel like you've been pushed into a corner? It's kind of like think of a boxing match, right? The first couple rounds are great. You're fighting, you're happy, you're upbeat, everything's going well. But then slowly as the rounds progress and as the wear and tear starts to kick in, you suddenly find yourself in a corner, just avoiding as many punches as possible and trying to survive. That's what I feel like Apple has done to us 12 and 13 mini lovers. I, for one, have been a huge advocate for the device simply because it was pocketable. It just had all the capabilities you really look for in a device, but at the same time, it had comfort. But more and more, the rumors and just not getting another model, it finally pushed me into this decision of making the upgrade to the iPhone 16 Pro. So, the number one important thing for me, obviously coming from a smaller device, is size and weight. Now, I've stated how much I love the Kodabe sheath. With the 13 mini, it made perfect sense. So when I tried out the 16 Pro, I put the Kodabe sheath on here, but all of a sudden I found myself just not having a comfortable experience. And it wasn't the case's fault, but it was just the difference in weight between the two. With the Kodabe sheath on the 13 mini, and then this slimmer Kodabe veil case on the 16 Pro, there's only an ounce of a difference. And since I was used to just handling the size of the mini with the Kodabe sheath, if you look at these both like side by side, there really isn't that much of a difference. And so it made my transition a lot easier. And I just went with keeping this case on here. Now, the only thing I was worried about was not having MagSafe, but if you have good MagSafe accessories that have good strong magnets, you're not going to have any issue. So even though the 16 Pro has a larger footprint, it's still comfortable to use with a slim and lightweight case. So if you are someone that's looking to upgrade your current mini, then I think that you should go for something like this case. There's tons of cases like this one out there. You don't have to use this specific one, but that's just going to make the transition easier because 1 ounce change isn't really all that much. Whereas like when I tried to use like the Pro Max and even with this same kind of case, I wasn't able to do it because just like the weight change was too much. And the fact that I can't use that one-handed, that is the problem for me. So the 16 Pro, in terms of its size and weight and everything, this just fits in perfectly. Because the other thing is that if I know that the next like SE or budget model phone is going to get larger, why would I stick with the budget model? So it just didn't make sense. Now, if I knew that, hey, they're going to come out with like a 14 mini that might be chunkier and has a bigger battery, then yeah, it would make perfect sense because two cameras are more than enough for me. Now, speaking of cameras, that is the next major reason for me. And it's not because of quality or anything like that. It's not that I wasn't able to get good photos on the 13 mini or good video. I actually spent a lot of time highlighting how this camera system from the 12 Pro Max was like the perfect camera system for this 13 mini. But what I really liked here and what made it easier is that ever since I've been using a camera, it's so hard for me to take photos with my iPhone in the standard iPhone format because of all the processing that gets put on each photo. I feel like the videos are just over sharpened, and then same thing with the photos, they just don't look good. So that was the other major reason, and that's why I went for the Pro model. Or at least I knew either model that I choose has to be a Pro one because you have Pro RAW and ProRes capability. Now, this year, what's cool is that they went and updated the ultra wide as well. Because on prior like Pro models, I never found the ultra wide to be that great. It always had more noise. It just wasn't like a good experience. Even though you could get that much wider like ultra wide view, of the landscape, I just chose to always use the main lens simply because of the quality aspect. Now, I've said this many times before, and it's for good reason. The only reason you should be looking at a Pro or Pro Max phone is to take advantage of these like Pro type of features. Like if you love photos, you need to be using Pro RAW so you can have control of how your photos look. Same thing with video. ProRes format, it's just gonna look so nice. And that's why I went with this because like ever since I've been going on a bunch of trips with my camera, I just can't take photos with my phone. Like it just doesn't compare. It just doesn't look as good. Whereas with a Pro or a Pro Max device, having Pro RAW and having ProRes capability just totally changes that. Every now and then I mention my camera like I am doing now. If I make a video or a B-roll shot with the 13 mini, it's not really going to blend in all that well. Whereas if I use ProRes to do it, then it is going to blend in nicely. So it just gives me that advantage that I have full control over my photo and video quality. And another cool thing is that when I am shooting videos, you know how cameras have like these little flip out screens. But what's nice about having one of these devices with USB-C is not only do you get to use one cable, but I can connect this directly to my camera and use this as a display device. So that's also really helpful because when I am shooting all these product shots and everything, you know, that small little flippy screen isn't always the best to gauge like what everything is going to look like. So having this gives me a large display that I can just mount on top of my camera, and it just really helps in that way for me. Now, this is obviously a personal case scenario. You might not have any need for this whatsoever, and that's totally fine. But pro model, like if you're getting a pro model, you should be taking advantage of these pro features. Otherwise, you're just as good with the standard 16 model. Now, those are like two major reasons, right? But another couple things that actually played a role in this is that one is going to be battery life. On this thing, I can easily make it a day. I'm not really a power user, and I think that's partly because of the way I was using the mini. I kind of got used to just like, you know, saving videos to watch later on my iPad or just really use my phone as a phone. So, unless I'm really doing some like heavy tasks with this, like I can easily get through the day. So, that's one less thing I have to worry about. And then, you know, USB-C is a great help too because my camera's USB-C. All the majority of the stuff I have is USB-C. So when you're traveling, it just makes it easy. You have one kind of cable, and it's just one less headache you have to deal with. Another huge one was display, and that's just simply because you know, I want a fast and smooth display simply because it helps when you're watching videos, when you're playing games, and overall it just looks and feels nice. And I got used to the 13 mini and its display, and to be very honest, I could go back to it today and still survive. But you know, there's the kind of things I'm doing these days. It just requires a little bit of a bigger display. And that's one advantage you get with this year is that, you know, you got a little bit of a bigger display. So that really helps in terms of all the things that I've already mentioned, whether it's gaming, whether it's using this as a monitor for the camera, it's just helpful across the board. And really, Apple should incorporate a faster refresh rate in all of their devices going forward. The fact that we've had to wait this long is absolutely ridiculous. Now, lastly, if you are someone that has a 12 or 13 mini, you know, should you be considering upgrading to the 16 Pro? I think for majority of the people, like the standard 16 is fine unless you really like playing with photography, videography, and that's of importance to you, and you're really gonna actually use like ProRes and ProRAW and really get full control of your camera system. If that's not the case, just go for the regular 16. You're gonna be more than happy. If you do have any questions, right? If you're looking to upgrade and you need help, reach out to me in the comments and I'll be happy to help. Other than that, thank you so much for your time. I really hope this video can help you understand why I chose the Pro model and why maybe it might be the right one for you. Thank you so much for your time. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.